All right, so we are going to talk about the Michigan Hawaii game that got pushed back about an hour
Yeah.
due to weather, and then we'll talk about the Detroit Lions from there. But yeah, Michigan recap of the Hawaii game. What were your takeaways?
Um, Hawaii's bad. No,
For
I
more than
think,
Colorado State.
yeah, I mean, obviously, you talk about the quarterback position. That's pretty much what anybody's going to come out of this with. Was pretty much flawless. Um, yeah, can't really. You'd be nitpicking if you found anything wrong with that game at all. Um, you know, I guess I get what you're looking at now is like, okay, cool, he's going to be the starter. How good could this offense really be? Like, what heights can he really take them to? Um, and I think he can. I think he can really take them to. It really changes the way this offense looks. Um, but unfortunately, he's got to stay healthy because obviously, he's decisively won this quarterback battle. And nobody wants at this point to go back to Cade McNamara. I
I
still
know we
think
won't.
Cade
We'll go to Davis
McNamara.
Warren. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He played pretty well too.
He played
I
well in the spring game too. I was
did.
impressed since
He
every
did.
time he's been in.
He did. Cade is it's still he's gonna still factor into the season, I think. Like there's gonna be a time it's like come sometime whether JJ's hurt or
He just needs
just
a breather because he's been
gonna
running.
yeah, or something's gonna happen, right? Where Cade's gonna come in and he's gonna have to actually execute and do something. I hope it doesn't happen where JJ's just healthy the whole year,
I
but
don't mind if needs a breather for a drive or something, but
right. Right. But I think he's really going to come in and he's gonna it's in a time that matters. So I think you still have to find a way to keep him engaged. But the competition isn't even close at this point. I mean, I know, they let it play out on the field and one guy took it and ran with it. The other guy didn't. So that's kind of how it
to
works.
Cade's defense, which is not something I've really been running to a whole lot, but it just seemed like the offensive line decided not to block for him.
I mean, he had the second string offensive line in there. This is what happens though. Hawaii knows he can't avoid pressure and run, so they're going to come at him with reckless abandon. Versus JJ, they were kind of like, ah, crap, we got to keep him in the pocket, or he's going to take off and kill us. Right? That's kind of like when we get to the Detroit game. Like the Lions, you can't sack Jalen Hurts unless you're getting interior pressure, right, and edge pressure. You're not going to sack Hurts very much, right? Mm-hmm. So the Lions were getting pressure on the edge, but you're not getting any push up the middle. So that's why Hurts is able to run. But most quarterbacks aren't like that, right? Most quarterbacks aren't like JJ. So I think that's some of that. And then, yeah, I mean, it's hard. The game was already over. So I'm sure some guys were kind of going through the motions a little bit and they missed some blocks, but there's one play where he got sacked and he did have somebody open. He just didn't throw the ball and he held the ball a little too long too. So
and then you saw the interception. I think he just got desperate at that point. He's like, all right, I have to do something.
At that point, he's thinking he's trying to not be himself anymore, right? Yeah. His game is like, hey, let's check it down. Let's take the underneath throws.
Let's wear the defense down, basically.
Right. Let's be accurate and then take it if it's wide open, right? And that wasn't even remotely open. He was trying to be. He saw. I mean, like part of it is this competition sort of getting to him, where he saw, he saw what JJ was doing, with the deep balls, all the stuff downfield, and he realized, and he's trying to be in that competition. He's trying to reinsert himself into that, but it's obvious at this point. So. Unfortunate for him if you're a Cade guy or you're a Cade fan, but at this point, I mean, even if you were a Cade fan or a guy who really thought Cade was best, right? Because I had my moments where I was like, he still might be the better quarterback, for this team. But objectively, you can't sit there and go and watching those two games and go, Cade is the better quarterback right now. It just makes absolutely no sense. So I think it's pretty obvious at this point, and now they can move forward.
Yeah, well, JJ's Heisman odds went up from plus 7,500 to plus 2,000. So if hopefully you put your odds on him at the beginning.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was gonna say that $1,000 down turns into $75,000 if you bid on him at during the Colorado State game. So,
Right. Exactly.
Um,
I don't know. Other than that, takeaways. First team defense looks really good again. Hawaii didn't do anything to put any kind of pressure on the defense, though. The fourth and fifth stringers didn't look great at times, but even some of those guys were flying around. Like Jaden Hood was playing
and
great.
Hawaii was still playing their starters, so
Right.
at that point, fourth stringers for your team are probably playing for Hawaii anyway in most cases.
Right.
It's
So
Hawaii versus Hawaii at that point.
exactly. So I think overall, I mean, I know it's hard to have takeaways beyond. That was why I was intrigued by this game.
Yeah, they get the four stringers gave up the big plays that resulted in the touchdowns. Like that's what it really was.
Yep.
So,
and the only thing that I was intrigued about in this game was cool. It's under the lights. The night games are always cool, I guess. And then, how does JJ play? Right.
Other
he
than
didn't miss
that,
a
like,
beat. He didn't miss a beat.
Yeah. Other than that, I really just can't take much from it, though. You know what I
I think
mean?
there's other things to glean. Like, I mean, we talked about even some of the second stringers, like guys that it's like, okay, even if you lose some depth there, it's like you feel comfortable. Like, Javon Green was huge. Granted, he's a starter, but Makari Page looked really good in that game. Giovanni El Hadi filled in quite a bit there at guard. Thought he did a great job.
Too.
Will Johnson, a true freshman, made some plays. CJ Stokes, really like he's to me he's past Tavir Dunlap now. Leon Franklin, Isaiah Gash, and Gash had a good game too. But CJ Stokes, I like the way he runs. So it's like
I think he's the clear number 3 back. I think they worry about him in pass protection though, because every time it was an obvious passing down, they put Dunlap in. Even though Dunlap, I don't know, Dunlap might have had a carry or two, but they definitely put him in there just to make sure he would pick up a blitz. So there's things obviously for him to get better at, but as a pure runner right now, I think he's solid. Like I like the way he plays. Donovan Edwards is a little banged up, and I
was going to say he had 9 snaps in that game, and I think that Stokes had 14, which is the second most. Corum had 17. I think Isaiah Gash also had I think another 5 to add to that, and then Leon Franklin even got a snap in that game. So
and but Edwards had the one drive where he did everything, ripped off the big run, caught the big pass, and then scored the short touchdown. And then he didn't play after that short touchdown. He's a little banged up. Harbaugh didn't even say what it was because he doesn't talk about injuries. But
so you don't feel worried though with CJ Stokes?
No, exactly. Especially in this game, he shouldn't play.
Honestly, don't blame him against UConn. You may even survive without him against Maryland. So it's like just do your thing.
Yeah, just keep him healthy. So that's the benefit to this schedule is like, okay, you can make sure guys are healthy. You can make, before the Iowa game, I know Iowa looks like trash right now. Trash. Like one of the worst offensive as I've ever seen.
One of the best defenses I've ever seen.
But one of the better defenses. But you got to have everybody kind of guns blazing at that point. So, but Maryland's going to be a little more of a test. UConn will be better than the first 2 teams. They won't be that much better, but they'll be a little better. So it'll be good to see. And what you want to see now is, okay, now there's a little bit of film on JJ. Now that teams maybe kind of know what he likes to do. You want to see him executing at a high level again, right? I'm not expecting 11 for 12 for 3 touchdowns every week, but executing at a high level again, efficiently running the offense, because that was what it was. It was efficiency to a crazy level. And if you can get to that point again, 2 weeks in a row, awesome. Now you have confidence to go up against a more legit team. They're not great, Maryland, but a more legit team. And then you keep building and building and building. That's how he's going to continue to get better. So,
and that's the thing with JJ. He's a big play quarterback. He's electric, and Cade was just very methodical, wear the team down. I think in some games, I think JJ's going to have to adjust his style and kind of wear down some defenses sometimes.
You just got to take what the defense gives you. And I think you are going to be able to rely on the running game still. They've thrown the ball quite a bit this year, early going, way more than they did last year. But it's a different team. I think, I was talking to my dad about it. Like last year, Cade McNamara was exactly what this team needed at quarterback. You had Hassan Haskins. So you ran the ball on first down. It was 2nd and 6. Almost he was going to gain 3 or 4 yards, right? He just was, right? He almost never had a negative play. So cool, 2nd and 6, you can throw the ball on that down, or you can run it, but you could throw it. And if you're Cade, if your first read isn't there and you check it down, cool. It's either a first down or it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. And then you can run the ball with Hassan Haskins again. They would just do that all the way down the field, right? And that's why like Cade's like efficiency numbers probably looked really good. He was leading scoring drives, never put the ball in harm's way for the most part. But this year they don't have Hassan Haskins, right? Now Corum is a great back, and I think he's going to play in the NFL, and I think he's got a chance to have a great season, right? And Donovan Edwards has a chance to be even better than both of them. But it's one of those things where they're not the same as Haskins. You don't have a guy that's just going to constantly lean on the defense. So you need to be able to get the ball down the field a little bit more. You need to have that explosion. You need JJ's ability to run the ball. That needs to be added into the offense. So I think more than anything else, that is why the switch was necessary. On top of, he's just more talented. Like, he's the most talented Michigan quarterback I remember seeing.
Yeah, he was what we thought Shea Patterson could be coming out of Ole Miss. Honestly, that's what I feel like. I mean, I expected Shea Patterson to be electric too. I watched the highlights he had with Ole Miss, and he was extremely elusive. Granted, Ole Miss offensive line was horrendous, so Shea was almost always running for his life. But there was like a lot of people saying Shea Patterson's like Johnny Manziel, and I'm like, okay, you saw similarities when you watched some of that Ole Miss film, but it's like when he came to Michigan, obviously they broke him down to be a kind of a neutral quarterback that relies also heavily on
Patterson. That first season with Shea Patterson, he was actually very good. He was a legitimately good quarterback in my opinion that year. Second year, yeah, he was hurt a lot. I think he's the most hated on quarterback for no reason in my opinion. Maybe other than Cade. I think he was better than he got some credit for, but he wasn't what a lot of people thought he might be. But JJ is, and everybody's hyping up JJ like crazy right now, but we haven't seen this combination of both running and the ability to throw the ball at an NFL level from a talent standpoint.
I was going to say, not even Denard falls in that category because he couldn't throw the way
Denard was a better runner, but he was a running back. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And that's what he played in an NFL. So
right. So I don't think ever. I can't remember a guy like that.
Like what I know it sounds super exasperating, but like Denard Robinson's wheels, and then he's got Josh Allen's arm. Like, okay, he doesn't have quite Josh Allen's arm.
The quarterback minus 50 pounds, probably. The quarterback he reminds me most of is Josh Allen, though.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of
run the ball plus the huge arm.
Yeah,
like that's who he reminds me most of. Now, if he adds 50 pounds, then he could be Josh Allen, but because Josh Allen's a linebacker, that dude's huge.
Yeah, he's a mobile guy like that's a mobile Ben Roethlisberger is one of the scariest things you can imagine as like a linebacker. You're like, crap, I still don't want to hit this guy.
I don't want to tackle this guy. He's the quarterback, and I don't want to tackle him.
I was like tackling Cam Newton for the first couple of years. Granted, Cam Newton
that to me, that's like JJ's ceiling, right? Like maybe not a ceiling. I don't know what a ceiling is really, but like that's like what the kind of what you're looking for, as he progresses is getting to that point where like. He can already make all the throws. He can already, do everything you would want. But now it's like, okay, now there's going to be more difficult defenses to read. Now there's going to be more difficult defenses to understand and to get through the coverage and find the right guy. They're going to try to confuse him now, right? Hawaii, I mean, they might have tried, but they couldn't. So at this point, you really just have to, you want to see him progress in that side, more of like the mental side. I don't know if it's really going to see anything different against UConn, but Maryland's going to have some different challenges for him. Iowa is a difficult team to play quarterback against because they're in zone coverage all day long and they make you check the ball down. They make you like you can't force anything against them because their eyes are always on the quarterback. They're always sitting back there in a cover two, and they have good safeties. So. He'll have some tests, and I'm sure he'll frustrate the crap out of us a couple times. But the talent is way too. I mean, yeah, I haven't seen anything like this, maybe ever. So
I actually I wanna kind of move towards the UConn game, but I was looking at UConn's schedule. They played Utah State and lost 31-20 in week 1, and then week 2 they
Game,
played
actually.
Syracuse, lost 48-14.
Mhm.
But to me, I like right now they Michigan's averaging 53.5 points. I think right now the spread's at 47.5. Um, I don't. Again, I don't think I'm taking that still. I think
No, I would expect
JJ's going to be
35.
out of the game probably by halftime if they have
Right.
any sense.
Well, I think so. This next week, I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe not him, but if some of the starters do get a little more burn, because I mean, you're gonna need them to play longer, maybe even the week after, right?
Mm-hmm.
And certainly the week after that, right? And so they have to, just from a conditioning standpoint and game reps, I feel like they need to get him out there and maybe play him into the third quarter a little bit, or at least maybe a couple series even in the third quarter, and then go from there. I'm not saying it needs to necessarily be JJ if you're blowing him out, blowing him away, but or like certain guys maybe you don't play as much, Blake, some of those guys, but I feel like you do still need to get some starters reps. So I wouldn't be that could bode very poorly for UConn because Hawaii was one of the worst teams I've seen in a while, but I mean UConn isn't.
But our starters were pulled by halftime.
Yep, incredible.
Yeah, Hawaii was still playing their starters all the way through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were bad.
Mm-hmm.
They were bad. So UConn's not that much better. So I still wouldn't take that bet though. I agree. That's hard to cover.
Well, so that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking 45-10 if I have to come up with a score off the top of my head right now. But yeah, what do you?
I'll say 56-14. I'll give him 14. Late touchdown.
Yeah, I mean that's typical. That is kind of typical. Some of these like 30.
I think Michigan gets in the 50s. If they want to get in the 50s, they will get in the 50s.
Yeah, that's fair, and especially with them, like you said, maybe playing a little bit longer. I think when there's that chance that we could even see 60 in this game. But yeah, I don't know. Do we know if they're going to play, Zion Turner or Cale Millen?
I don't know. Taekwon Rose obviously hurt. Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't think it matters, but Millen's brother was the starter for Colorado State, so I'm sure he is.
I wonder about it. I just feel like we played a Millen.
Yeah. Yep. He was the starter for Colorado State, so
that'd be fun.
Yeah, they can both get annihilated.
It's destroyed. And then one brother can brag, well, I only lost by 52.
Exactly. So I don't know. It's kind of a frustrating schedule in a sense for a fan because you're like, I mean, come on, guys. Like,
I want to see the real deal now.
I want to see the real deal, but at the same time, like, it's 3 wins. You're gonna have 3 wins on probably 4. And really, you should. We looked at the schedule before the season started. They should be favored in every single game until Ohio State.
Yep.
And they're a better team than every single team on the schedule until Ohio State. There's games that worry me. So
Penn State kind of still stands out.
Penn State worries me, but it's at home. Michigan State worries me every year, but it is at home this year.
If Iowa gets their crap together, man.
Iowa gets their stuff together. It's on the road.
It's still at Kinnick, So
that's a terrifying game still. But
yeah, because we could score 10 points, and if they just score 13, well, that's what life is.
Right.
So,
so there's some things that still worry me on the schedule, especially when you have a young quarterback. But they're from a talent and depth and just ability standpoint, they're better than every team until they play Ohio State, and they might be better than Ohio State. They might not be. I don't know. So it's
Ohio State hasn't really flashed either. So I'm like,
no, I mean they beat Notre Dame. Everybody thought it was a great win. Turns out Notre Dame's
not good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting, but I like where the team is. I mean, you couldn't ask for any more than where they're at right now. So, but yeah, this is going to be another bloodbath in this game. So, I mean, looking back, remember even pre-Harbaugh era. I mean, we were worried about every game.
It's true. Yeah, Brady Hoke and Rich Rod. No,
right. I mean, Michigan went to UConn actually one year and played, and they barely won. They won by 3. right? So,
I mean, even the Lloyd Carr years after they lost to App State, man, I was like,
yeah,
anything
there's
can happen, I guess.
there was some years where you literally worried about everything, every game. So, now I mean, not too worried at all. At least not until Iowa.